Hey everybody, welcome back to Expedition Homestead. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic end to your falls and beginning of your winter. Here in southeastern Wisconsin, we are lucky enough not to have had barely any snow at this point. We've had a couple of sprinkles here and there, if you will, but that's about it. So we have not had any snow on the ground up to this point. Well, I do have to admit I'm kind of ready for there to be some snow because being from Wisconsin, just naturally I do love the snow. I love getting out there with the kids and having a bunch of fun. With that being said, now is the time of the year when we start growing all of our stuff indoors. We start paying more attention to our houseplants, and our videos do so as well. We're also going to be starting to grow a couple of different herbs indoors. I will show you guys that later on in the video. And then down over here, you see our strawberry plants that we are overwintering here indoors. In today's video, I want to show you guys all of the house plants that we have growing right now, so you can see the progress that we make throughout the winter, and you can see the different additions that we make to our houseplant collection as well. And then I also want to show you guys a highlight of the very first banana plant that I've ever tried to grow. Hopefully we grow it successfully. I am very excited to try and grow it. Some people say that it can be very difficult to grow in our zone here in southeastern Wisconsin, but it is said that it can grow in a 5B zone. So my fingers are crossed, but for now it's just a tiny little plant. Let me go get it and I'll show you guys what it looks like at this point, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the care that I will be giving it throughout this next year. Here it is. This is our banana plant that we got off of Amazon. I think it was around $12 in total after shipping and everything. It took about 3 to 4 weeks to get here because there was some delays. You can see that it has some dying foliage on here. So what I'm gonna do is snip that stuff off, just like that. This way it can put all of its energy into the developing foliage and plant, as well as the roots. It looks like they shipped it in a almost 100% coconut core mix. So I'm going to have to repot this pretty soon here down in the basement. I just gave it a nice watering so I know it has enough moisture up until the point where I do repot it. So we're just gonna pop that thing right here under our grow light and let it sit until I get the prospective pot to grow it in from here on out. So with this banana plant, it is said that I can grow it in this zone 5. Specifically, we're in a 5B, so it's a little bit warmer than a zone 5. But what I have to do when growing it is that I need to pile up 2 to 3 feet of leaves and insulating material around it during the winter months. I'll probably even do a couple layers of plastic to make sure that I can insulate it as well as possible. I'm not really going to dig it up every single year because it's going to be such a large root mass. That might be a possibility in the future if I just can't get these things to grow at all, no matter how well I insulate it for the winter. But besides that, I've been told that they're actually kind of easy to grow as far as the care goes. The winter months are another story, but for the care for this banana plant, it grows really, really fast. Of course, it does want just about full sun, as much sun as we can get it here in Wisconsin, the better. Fingers crossed that we will get our own banana tree growing. I don't really expect to ever get fully grown bananas or anything like that, being that it's just not the right growing conditions for this plant to do so. It's not going to be optimum for it. But I am very excited to see how fast this thing grows and just document on if we're able to keep it alive over the winters here in Wisconsin. So week 1 here for this banana plant. Super excited for that. Let's give you guys a view of all of the other plants that we have growing right here. And I'll give you a little bit of a background on some of them and a little bit of a perspective of what we plan on doing for the plants in the future. as far as different videos and topics go for these. And then after that, of course, I will tell you guys about all of the different perennial herbs that will be starting here in this seed tray indoors over the winter. This is a curly Sue cactus. This I've been growing for over a year now, and I love it. I had a couple of babies growing. They're around here somewhere. Right here I've got some babies that I grew out from the fruit, and that was a really cool process. I love doing that. In the future here for this one, I will be making some propagation videos on how to take cuttings and propagate, especially if you look at some of these aerial roots. Aerial roots sticking out of that. That is going to be perfect points for propagation on that. We have a Sun Sparkler sedum. This I rescued from outdoors after it was starting to die off for the winter. Brought it inside and it looks like it's bouncing back just fine. Our Christmas cactus back over here is doing really well. It's gotten quite large ever since we repotted it. I would say it almost doubled in size. It's doing really good. It put off a beautiful flowering show for us this year, just as it does every year. Got an Alocasia African mask that died back completely, but is now throwing out some shoots for us, so that one will be rebounding in no time. This is an Echeveria chihuahuensis. Note the container with no drainage. You can grow houseplants in containers without drainage. Believe it or not, it can be done. I've got a video on that too. If you look it up, it's there. You just need to pay more attention to the plant when growing in a container without drainage, but that's about it. Here we have a cactus that is shooting off a ton of babies, so a propagation video is going to be coming up on that one. Back behind me, we've got the Chinese money plant. Looks like it is finally doing well. It was growing so slowly and so weak over the past year and a half, but now it seems like it's finally established itself and is starting to grow good once again. Sansevieria snake plant, a little banana plant. Now let's go down to the next level. All right, down here we've got our strawberry plants, which I am overwintering because by the time I got around to potting them up, it was too late in the season to transplant them outdoors, so that's why we've got them growing in here. Back behind me, we have our jade plant, which I will have a video coming up soon on an update for you guys, so I won't talk much about that one. It is doing great though. I'm gonna make that video real soon here because it's still showing some excellent colors after being outdoors throughout the entire summer. Our aloe vera, which is recovering. If you guys saw the video, this thing almost completely died during the move into our new home. And our ZZ plant, which is doing wonderfully. We've got different cuttings of this growing. Some propagation videos have yielded us with really, really interesting results. I highly suggest checking out our ZZ plant propagation playlist and make sure you watch the last video in that playlist. It's kind of comical. So ZZ plant is growing wonderfully. And I will grab the camera to show you guys our cactus planter back here. We've got a Puntia cactus, beaver tail cactus, cholla cactus, a old lady cactus in there, some pencil cactus, and sansevieria. This planter is in need of some thinning out, and so I will have a video on a complete remodel of that planter. We'll be propagating out some of the cactus and sansevieria that are growing in there right now, possibly even adding in some of this cactus and maybe a couple of succulents here and there as well to kind of spice up the planter a little bit. But we're gonna do a little rejuvenation therapy on this whole planter here because I really haven't touched it in quite a long time. But it has gone from a tiny little planter that seemed like it was very sparsely packed into this abundant forest of cacti, and it is just doing so well. I love it. That is my favorite planter so far. I do believe that when I made this planter, it was my intention to grow something a little bit different than a lot of people do, because so many times I see people growing one plant in one container, just like most of my other plants in here. But when we start creating different landscapes and terrestrial designs with all of these cactus and succulents and other indoor houseplants, that's when it really becomes fun. So I really encourage you guys to go out and buy a large planter. You can get them at any of your local gardening supply stores. Buy that planter and then throw a bunch of different types of plants in there, and I think you might be surprised of the cool little biome that they set up and how the plants actually can grow together like that. I thought it was pretty interesting. So now let's show you guys the perennial herbs that we will be starting in our seed starting kit. I won't be doing all of that in this video, but I just want to show you guys before we check out today all of the different perennial herbs that we will be seeding indoors here. So these seeds I got from Botanical Interests, and some of you might recall that I made a video on planting these seeds in the past. But along with the move, just like several other house plants and outdoor plants, they did not make it through it just because I didn't give them the attention that they deserved and required. So all of my seeds passed away. We have a couple different interesting ones that I've never grown before, but we've got oregano, common oregano. I've grown that, of course. We've got garlic chives. We've got true Greek oregano. I have never grown that before, so pretty interested to grow that. Lemon balm. Then there is a lavender hyssop. This will be a first time for me growing this lavender hyssop. It will be a great plant for all sorts of different recipes and teas and stuff like that. Savory winter, I've never grown this before either. That will be quite interesting to grow as well with these bunches. I also have a couple of perennial flowers that I will probably plant in with these, just so I have them ready for the spring months. But with these herbs, this is going to be one of the first things that we get going in the garden in the backyard. I have some large livestock containers that I filled up with big branches about 1.5 to 2 inches. Some are even smaller than that as well, but I've got big branches down in the bottom foot or so of those containers, and then I will be putting dirt, mulch, wood chips up in the rest of those containers. So this will be like a hugelculture type of method when growing. So I'm going to get these perennial herbs growing in there, so they'll be separated from the rest of the garden, so they're not going to take over. With some of these herbs, you really got to be careful and make sure that you don't plant them in the wrong spot. Specifically plants that are in the mint family. You really don't want to plant those in your garden because they can take hold and outgrow many other things that you don't want them to. They can take over your garden pretty quickly. So avoid that and plant these herbs in their own separate container like I'm doing. So I look forward to doing that. Again, it's going to be in a future video that I will be planting these seeds, and then later on we'll be tracking the progress and getting them growing outdoors when the springtime comes. So thank you guys all so much for watching. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you found it entertaining and possibly even learned a little bit. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next episode.